Are you constantly using debit cards because somebody insults you for wanting to use credit cards?
You are a loser.
In this episode, we're going to talk about why using credit cards over debit cards is exactly what you should be doing. We will also discuss what credit is and strategies for building credit, especially if you're young and have no credit. I'm Afro Senpai, and I'm interested in all things related to the average person like you and me growing their wealth. Let's get it. Now, what is credit and why do we want it? In a nutshell, credit is just borrowed money. Although it's looking less and less likely that the average person can buy their own home, chances are we still want to be able to do it someday. And chances are you're not going to have all the money you need to buy your house outright. So you're going to have to ask a bank or some other lender, like a credit union, for that money. And now the lender has to decide, is this person qualified? Is this person good enough to get our money? And unfortunately, banks only like to give money to people who don't need it. If you don't have a lot of money or assets to your name, banks don't want to lend to you. But as a first step, they're going to be looking at your credit score to determine if you're safe to give money to. So let's talk about how do we build our credit. Here are the only categories that help us build our credit, as well as the percentages that go along with them. And if you're 18, you're in a prime position to start your credit building journey on the right foot. Credit lenders are going to be hitting you up to apply for credit cards. And while opening a credit line is a good way to build credit, they might not be giving you the best offers. So how do we find a good card? I always check nerdwallet.com. On this website, you can click on the credit cards tab. If you want points for travel, if you want points for cash back, if you want to build credit, you can click on those subcategories accordingly. To build credit with your first card, besides being accepted for submitting the application, you'll want to use the card at least twice a year. If you don't have a lot of money to your name and you're not working, but can pick up side hustles here and there, just buy a Snickers with the card a couple times a year and pay it off immediately. How do you pay it off? All you have to do is link a bank account, like a checking or a savings account, to your credit card, and your checking or savings account is what pays off the balance of your credit card. As long as your credit lender sees that you're using the card at least twice a year, you're actively building your credit. They see that you're using it, and they see that you're making payments on time, and that's important. Every year, if you remember, request to increase the credit limit of your card. Your credit limit is basically the maximum threshold in which you can borrow money. So when you are first starting out, you may have a credit limit of $500 or $1,000. One of the categories of building credit relates to your debt to income ratio, which are fancy words for how much of your credit are you actually using. You want to try to keep this below 30%. So if you have a credit limit of $1,000 on a card, try not to ever charge more than $300 to that card, unless you're paying it off immediately, which is always the goal. Now, to build more credit, all you have to do every couple of years is apply for a new credit card. So go back onto NerdWallet, and maybe your first card was a credit builder card. Well, you've already established that you're building credit with the first card. Maybe you want to get into some travel perks, or maybe you want to get into a cash back card. Something you might want to think about is if you have a lot of bills and a steady job, start putting all of your bills on the credit card. Every single bill that can be paid with a credit card, I pay it with my credit card because I already have the money set aside because I budget my money. I pay for my bills with the credit card. I pay off the credit card with the money that I've already allocated for bills. And so my lender's happy because I'm constantly using the card as well as paying it off. So I'm building my credit, and I'm also getting crazy perks because I rack up so much money on that credit card. While you're on NerdWallet and you're trying to figure out which card I should get because I see a lot of numbers and it doesn't make any sense to me, you're going to want to look for just a couple things. One, is there an annual fee? If you're new to building credit, you want a card with 0 annual fees. When you step your game up and have lots of assets and wealth at your disposal, you may want to look into a card with an annual fee because they do offer some crazy perks. I personally am excited for a black card one day when I'm retired and I can travel more, but that's another episode. The other thing you want to look for is the rate. The APR determines how much you're charged if you leave a balance. Now, personally, you and I should not care about what the percentage is because we're not leaving a credit card balance on our credit cards. Now, if you don't have your emergency funds set up, you don't have your budget in place, or maybe you forget to pay the credit card, there may be a time where you leave a balance. So this is where you want your rate to be pretty low. Now, if you're starting out, you're probably going to get stuff around 25%, 30%, and that's normal. But again, it doesn't apply to you because you're not going to leave a balance. What is 30% of zero? For the math wizards out there, it's zero. You cannot charge interest if the balance is zero. It's as simple as that. Now, for interest rates, you might find a variable rate and a fixed rate. You always want the fixed rate. Variable rate means it can fluctuate depending upon what the Fed has for the interest rates. Fixed is it's always going to stay whatever rate they said in the beginning. So why are we using credit cards over debit cards? Debit cards don't build your credit, and there's no security. If you have a suspicious charge on your credit card, you call your credit card company up. Think of it as their money that's at play. So they're going to want to resolve it for you very quickly. So credit cards are building your credit and have an extra layer of security. Am I making sense? For sticking to the end, I'm going to give you some extra gems to go home with. Even though we have an extra layer of security using credit cards, I still write CID on the back of my credit cards. If I'm at a restaurant or a place where I have to hand a credit card to somebody to make a purchase and they run it, they look at the back of the card just to see that it's been signed for already. But when I write CID, it forces them to go ask me for identification just in case, and that's another layer of security that I have for myself in the off chance somebody steals my card or I drop my card and they pick it up and they want to go charge goods and services in person. You are correct. If they took it and then bought something online, I'm screwed. But then again, I just call them up and say, hey, my card has been stolen. That was not me. Get that fixed. If you have children, they can be an authorized user on your account. Some companies limit this to a specific age, but what an authorized user allows your children to do is to start building credit. So when I found out about this, I added Anthony and Nolly as authorized users on the card that I use the most. So at 6 and 9 years old, they had their own credit card and they were starting to build their own credit. So when they want to make a purchase, I give them their card and they charge goods and services, and then they give me the cash that they saved up for that particular purchase. A big myth is I should be leaving a little bit on my credit card every month instead of paying it off in full. Stop doing that. First of all, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. If you don't have the money to make a purchase on your credit card, do not use the credit card. You run into a slippery slope if you're charging $5 over here for coffee, $20 over here for a movie, and you don't keep track of anything. Another big myth is that all credit cards are bad. That's like saying all guns are bad. The truth is, as long as the person using the credit card has good practices, credit cards are a great way to not only build your wealth, but build your credit. I use my Capital One credit card the most. What credit card companies are you guys going with? Are you happy with them? Let me know in the comments. That's going to do it for this episode. If you appreciate the knowledge that I dropped today, don't forget to pay that like tax. If you have questions, hit me up in the comments. If you know somebody who's unsure about credit cards, or maybe you have a kid who's 18 and you want to hip them to the game, share this video with them. And until the next one, remember to smile because you are beautiful.
Peace.